Hello everyone, this is Laura from Astropositive, and we are here to talk about what the next week has in store for us, starting on the 20th of October. So first and foremost, this week that will follow features a new moon, which will occur on the 21st of October at 28 degrees 21 minutes of Libra. Here is the chart of the new moon, and as you can see, several geometrical figures seem to leap out of the image. Well, first, starting with the position of the new moon, we have this grand square along the red lines. The grand square between the new moon, Jupiter, Chiron, and Pluto. Also starting at the new moon, what we see is it's a sharp triangle formed by the green lines. That is called a yacht, with the base formed by Uranus and Neptune. And now if we have along the blue lines, if we follow the blue lines, we have this grand triangle, the grand trine, formed by Mercury and Mars on one angle, Jupiter, and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is still ongoing. And finally, we have the small triangle, which is formed by the heavier planets that will be with us for quite some time still, because these planets are moving at a very slow rate. So, what does all this mean? A new moon is always a symbolic beginning of a new cycle that lasts for 1 month. The effects are felt during 1 month. And in Libra, this new beginning has to do with relationships of all kinds, but especially our love relationships. It will highlight those aspects where justice and fairness are not yet reached, and where there's a need for equal give and take that has not yet been achieved. And this particular new moon is empowered by its 3 hard aspects. Firstly, so there is this opposition that is taking place between Jupiter and Pluto, and that is forming right now. It's still out of sign, but already valid. And the new moon is triggering both Jupiter and Pluto, so the opposition, by making squares to each of the planets. Well, a square to Jupiter in Cancer is in itself good news, because who doesn't like the plentiful, expansive, overly generous, nature of the King of Gods, huh? And in Cancer especially, it is overflowing with good intentions, huh? Cancer is the sign of Jupiter's exaltation, not that Jupiter is not already exalted per se, huh? Anyway, this aspect alone suggests a tremendously emotional new moon. So our emotions will likely be all over the place. It will be hard to impossible to keep in check. Everything will be seen like under a magnifying glass. Everything will be just blown out of proportions. All the more so as Jupiter is opposing Pluto, a planet that gives abysmal depth to everything it touches. With a square to Pluto, the new moon is set to transform our relationships on the deepest level, because Pluto likes to burn things to the ground in order to maybe rebuild them after. So we can expect severe turmoil, deep questioning, power struggles, untamed conflict. There will be no half measures, no niceties. It's take no prisoners. Pluto is in Aquarius, so the cold logic of this sign will make mincemeat of the tender, Cancerian emotions that will be greatly stirred. Especially with Chiron thrown into the mix, because Chiron represents our sensitive spot that will be trodden upon by the 2 warlords, Jupiter and Pluto. So overall, it's not going to be a comfortable walk in the park. So we should get ready to have our hearts broken now, folks, because this is war, as I titled my video. Going on towards the blue lines of least resistance, because blue lines mean harmonious aspects that are forming the grand trine. We cannot really rely on it for comfort, because the 2 of the players are none other than Mercury and Mars in Scorpio. So this conjunction also spells war, this time verbal war. In Scorpio, blunt, harsh words are spoken that abruptly address the heart of the matter. The trines the conjunction makes to Saturn and Jupiter might be its saving grace, because they can add good intentions on one side and greater efficiency on the other, so we could expect efficient communication. But even so, we shouldn't expect good manners and beating around the bush, because the only thing that will get a beating will be our sensitive little selves. As any conjunction, this has an orb of effectiveness, and actually it's already been felt. So probably this weekend already, so we shouldn't be surprised if sparks are flying already. Maybe you already noticed that people are losing their temper a bit more easily, and like at the drop of a hat. And if you did, you can blame it on Mercury Mars. The yod I mentioned before, that has the new moon precariously balancing between Neptune and Uranus, might open some unorthodox thought avenues that might find some unexpected solutions to the conflict. It may well also just simply irritate us because Neptune and Uranus can be quite a confusing and nerve-wracking combination. So, as you can see, not much is to be said for peace and quiet with this new moon. And we should be careful not to go overboard with our emotions, keep our tongue in check, because we can inadvertently insult someone. And we should try to choose our battles carefully. Some aspects of our relationships will have to be demolished before getting rebuilt, and this will likely hurt. So let's hope it's all for the greater good. What we have as a positive aspect is a solitary little sextile between Venus and Juno. So this stands there like hope at the bottom of Pandora's box. And it will be sorely needed because, well, it signifies renewed harmony after the conflict, but the aspect is already separating. So I shouldn't put much hope on it. Well, there is a positive side. So on the positive side, the one that we all should strive to manifest, well, not much will be left unsaid. So we can really this time pluck up the courage to speak out, to stand up for ourselves, to speak out about anything that is troubling us. So now is the time to stand up for a cause and finally make ourselves heard if we have any grievance. Well, as always with lunations, the effect will be felt for, well, already 1-2 days before it's exact. So we should already brace ourselves this weekend. And particularly those of you who have planets or angles at the very end of cardinal signs or very beginning of fixed months. So now for daily transits. On the 20th, the week starts with this belligerent conjunction of Mercury and Mars that I was talking about. This is spurred on by a minor tense aspect between, Libra Moon and Uranus. So Monday is not a day for peace and love, unfortunately, and everybody's nerves will be a bit stretched. On the 21st, New Moon Day. The Libra Moon will start with a promising warm square to Jupiter, and then it will go on to make all the aspects of the Grand Cross. So it will turn into a pain in the neck with a Chiron opposition to end with a square to Pluto in all its glory, which means that gloom, jealousy, desperation might briefly creep into our hearts. And we can be faced with the less palatable aspects of ourselves. Okay, on the 22nd, not much better on Wednesday, because the moon is exceptionally not making any major aspects. It should be a quieter day, so we should feel freer to express ourselves and be ourselves. But still, there are these two minor friction aspects of the moon to Saturn, Neptune to spoil the fun. On the 23rd, well, almost a pleasant day with the 3 trines of the moon to the nodes, Jupiter and Saturn, and this is a feel-good, benign combination. But here the moon stumbles on the Mercury-Mars conjunction again, and suddenly remembers it has a beef with someone, and there we go again on a full-scale war campaign, just when we thought it was over. On the 24th, there is this tricky Moon-Uranus opposition that stirs the water some more. As if we weren't exhausted enough for all the turmoil before. Clearly, the focus is still on our commitments in relationships because the moon is conjunct Juno. And actually, relationships are about to face the wrecking ball of the Sun square Pluto today. So things, appliances, situations might suddenly collapse. We should take care and avoid exposing ourselves to violence because this could signify some danger. So, of course, such aspects of the Sun to Pluto occur 4 times a year, and we all made it so far. So we shouldn't exaggerate, but it's still worth a warning. The good news, because there are some good news always, is that Mercury is trining Jupiter. So hopefully we all have learned something from the recent hostilities, and now we know how to handle communicating in a more constructive way. At last, on the 25th, there's this nice sweet sextile of the moon to Venus, letting us all breathe a sigh of relief and enjoy the truce. The mood is for partying and social events, but the tone of the conversation still remains serious because Mercury is trining Saturn. The aftermath of the bloodbath we've just been through lingers in the memories. So, well, we shouldn't paint the devil on the wall because it won't be a bloodbath all concerned. A few of us will probably be able to better navigate the murky waters of scorpionic verbal jousting, so a few of us will leave this week without a scar. On the 26th, Venus will try and put a smile on our face with an attempt at a new fun pastime with Uranus. But the moon won't let the matter rest with squares to Saturn and Neptune, which weighs down on our spirits. So we can't win this one, people. In short, a heavy-duty week where our dirty laundry will get an airing, when the deepest issues will be ruthlessly dealt with. No stone will be left unturned in order to expose the core of the problem, and our closest relationships will lose a few feathers in the game. That said, I leave you to fend for yourselves. Feel free to comment and let us all know how it happened for you, how it all turned out. I will be back next week for a new forecast with a different flavor, hopefully. So till then, take care. Bye-bye.